of our diploma programs, ensuring our graduates to meet industry and global standards, facilitating fundings, collaborations, and career opportunities for our students, basically from the rural area. Embedding a culture of quality, accountability, and innovation in our day-to-day academic processes. This FDP, especially therefore very timely and a significant step. It will definitely enable our faculty to understand the requirement of outcome-based education, the effective CO, PO, and PSO mapping, continuous internal evaluation, and documentation process, which is essential for accreditation. Most importantly, it will also encourage to reflect how we can transfer the classroom teaching into impactful learning processes aligned with the NBA criteria. Really, I sincerely thank to AICT for extending the Margadarshan scheme to our institute. And I am grateful to our mentors, the resource persons, and coordinators for guiding us in this academic journey. I am confident that over a period of these 3 days, we will exchange the ideas, learn the best practices, and return our classroom with renowned enthusiasm and clarity. In conclusion, I urge all the participants to actively engage, share their experiences, and take maximum benefits from this FDP. Let us together commit ourselves to the mission of the quality enhancement and to making MIT Polytechnic Rotterdam a model institution for technical education. So wish you all the best. Let's have and faith with the 3-day journey of academic with the College of Margadarshan scheme, that is RAISONI College with MIT Polytechnic Rotterdam. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir.
Professor Kishore Patil, please, sir.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much, sir, for your valuable guidance and information regarding this FDP and all these things. Next, I will hand over the mic to our Vilas Jadhav, sir, Professor Vilas Jadhav, sir, HOD Electronics Department, who will give the introduction about the first our nominal personality, sir. Please, Jadhav, sir.
Thank you, sir. Good morning to everybody. It is my privilege to introduce today's distinguished guest, Dr. Nitin Korde, sir, Professor of Mechanical Engineering and Dean Academic at a GS RAISONI College of Engineering and Management, Pune. Dr. Korde, sir, hold a PhD in Mechanical Engineering from Shivaji University, Kolhapur, along with the Master degree in Heat Power Engineering from the College of Engineering, Pune, and Bachelor degree from the Amravati University, with an impressive 27-year experience, including a year in a industry and over 2 decades in academic. He has made a significant impact in a field of engineering education and research. As a Dean Academic since 2016, Dr. Korde, sir, has played a pivotal roles in shaping academic excellence, while also serving as a head of department and NAC coordinator. He has successfully established laboratories, initiated collaboration with the industry through the MOU, and organized numerous seminars, workshops, and expert lecture for the student for the holistic development. His research contributions are equally noteworthy, with over 30 published in national and international journals and conferences. He has also guided 15 undergraduate projects, 10 postgraduate dissertations, and currently supervising 3 PhD scholars. Dr. Kodesar has received prestigious grants, including a research grant and a travel grant from the AICT for the presenting an international conference. A respected resource person, he has delivered expert session at a leading institute such as the Government College of Engineering, Amravati and Karad, as well as for ICR Pune. He is committed to continuous learnings in evidence, even for his completion of a multiple NPTEL certificates. Dr. Kodesar is also active members in several professional bodies like ISTCC. Further, reflect his dedication to advance the knowledge in the field. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me welcoming Dr. U.H. Kodesar, a passionate teacher, researcher, and academic leader, to share his insight with us today. Thank you, sir. I will hand over mic to Patil, sir.
Thank you, Jadhav sir. Please, I will request to our expert, Nitin Kodesar sir, Professor Nitin Kodesar, please hand over them. Please, sir, continue the session.
Thank you, sir, for this nice introduction. I'll just share my content first. Sir, is the right given to me?
Yes, sir. Just a minute, sir. Just a minute, sir. I will be here, right? Yes, sir. Sir, see this, sir?
नाही सर अजून
झालं नाही का? झालं मी केलं
नाही
sir.
आय शुड बी द प्रेझेंटर ना ऍक्च्युअली अनलेस आय एम द प्रेझेंटर आय कॅन्ट शेअर
Yes, sir. मी केलं ना प्रेझेंटर. आलं का?
ओके एकच मिनिट येस Yeah, is it visible, sir?
Oh, yes, sir. Yes. Yes, sir. Yes,
Okay,
sir.
okay. Thank you for just giving me the chance to just share my views about these outcome-based educations. As Principal Sir has already mentioned that this is a joint, we can say, some collaborations where the GH RAISONI College is giving mentorship to the MIT Polytechnic for going ahead with the NBA accreditations. And NBA accreditation as such, it consists with, we can say, not only about the regular practices, but the quality enhancement. So the quality has to be a benchmark. And with respect to that, some guidelines are issued by the NBA regarding the polytechnic, we can say accreditations. So as we know that when you go for this accreditation, there are some normally some tier 1 and tier 2 are the categories under which we used to file the applications. And I think all the institutes or majority of the institutes in these under the MSBT, they are the under the tier 2, where already the curriculums is designed by the MSBT and the same is followed by all the institutes. And today, I have given the responsibility to just share my views about the program curriculums and teaching learning processes. So, which I can say the second criteria of this 9 criteria of this NBA, under which we can just submit our SAR before just visiting the NBA team. So, the criteria 2 as such, it has a total weightage of 200 marks. So, we can say it is out of 1000, nearly some 20% weightage is up to this second chapter under the second criteria, the program curriculums and the teaching learning processes. So today we'll just try to discuss what basically is expected under the curriculum design, means the when the program curriculum is designed. So there are different programs like maybe mechanical engineering, civil engineering, chemicals, computer, and all those. So what can be the thought process while developing that curriculums? What are expectations of the NBA based upon that? And then the second part of this will be the teaching learning process. So out of these 200 marks, nearly some 40 marks are divided to the first part against the program curriculums and teaching and program curriculums. And the second part is the major part of 160 marks of teaching learning processes, where some expectations are there from the NBA when they visit. And even when we write the SAR, and then they have given some sub-criteria based upon which we have to write what methodology actually we are following, what practices we are following, that also has to be mentioned. So to process with, I'll just try to cover this sessions with some majorly 3 parts. The process for curriculum designs, which I say of nearly some 40 marks in the weightage. And under that, just the process of curriculum designs means how the curriculum should evolve. Then based upon the program outcomes, which are already given by the NBA teams, about the 7 program outcomes are there. So based upon that, how actually we can find out the gaps about the POs. And when I say about the POs, ultimately it comes to the course outcomes, means the every course. So from every course, what can be the gaps can be identified, and how actually we can minimize or just we can say reduce those gaps, or we can just fulfill those gaps with the help of some additions of the some different courses like the content beyond syllabus courses and all those. So that can be the first part of today's discussions. The second part will be entirely about the teaching learning processes, where we can say what practices are followed in the particular institutes, starting with we can say some instructional methods and pedagogical initiatives that is undertaken by the institutes. Again, some quality initiatives that is adopted by the institutes regarding the you can say some formative assessment. Then there's some experiments quality, how you just conduct the labs and all those. Even the projects and report writings, and again some industry interactions and some learning facilities which are available under the uh, college or the institutes for the learning process. So all that is the contents, and just we'll try to summarize this based upon that what basically that criteria is entirely intended. So to start with, as I said earlier, most of the institutes or the polytechnic institutes in this Maharashtra are under the category of criteria trial 2, we can say, where MSBT has already given the curriculums. And the principal sir has already mentioned that presently the outcome-based education scheme is already implemented, the case scheme is there. And I think this is the third year, means this is the last year so of these particular schemes which is implemented. So that was implemented some 2 years before. And the 5th and 6th semesters curriculum is also developed by the MSBT. So by developing this curriculums also, the MSBT has taken some care that we know that normally it has to be conducted or maybe revised up to some 3 to 5 years. So some regular pattern is there. But now with the guidelines of the UGC also that NEP has to be implemented, so that care is also taken under this case scheme to fulfill the criteria of the NEP and as well as to meet the OBE requirements. So based upon that, the entire curriculum is revamped. So while developing this curriculum also, it is not just like one person is sitting and he's just taking care of all the curriculums. There is always some faculty members' contributions from all the institutes who are just giving their suggestions, who are actually participating in some revision workshops. There is always some interactions with the academics as well as some industries. What are the best practices which are adopted in the industries, and what are basically their expectations from that particular completions of that program. So based upon that, even the suggestions are taken by the industries, and again some higher level meetings of the boards based upon which some suggestions from the different you can say academicians and researchers they are incorporated. Along with that, it is always some the visits of the industry experts is always there. So what are their expectations? What are the alumni are there? So employees and all the you can say stakeholders. So those feedbacks are also collected, and based upon that, this curriculum is entirely designed. And that I can say this is the scheme which is now implemented is the case schemes, which has already taken care of all these different processes which is required while uh, framing the curriculums of the entire in programs. So this is now, we can just say as per the SAR requirements, we'll just try to discuss what basically is expected under the SARs when you write the SAR of the INI institutes for the NBA accreditations. So normally we say that is the what process is adopted to comply the curriculums for attaining the POs and PSOs. So as we know, the POs are already given by the NBA, which are the 7 POs, which are basically starting with some basic understanding to the lifelong learning and all those. But the PSOs that to be actually refined by or maybe framed by the institutes, the respective institutes. So those may be normally between some 2 to 4. Some guidelines are issued for that also. But then based upon our the strength, based upon our qualities, actually we can just every programs they can just frame their PSOs. So while framing the curriculums or the framing the program curriculums, we have to also thought that how we are going to achieve or meet that particular POs and PSOs. So whatever the PSOs are there, the 7 PSOs. So maybe there are some PSOs which are addressing some ethics and maybe sustainability like that. So we have to frame some courses based upon that also. So it is not simply just engineering courses, but it may be require some uh, understandings and again the introductions of some courses like humanities courses, some elective courses, maybe some personality development courses. All that has to be taken care while framing the curriculums because we have to meet those particular POs which are addressed by the NBA. Though, so every programs or every student who is going to complete that programs within that 3 years, he is supposed to get or maybe some acquainted with all those POs. Similarly, the PSOs that can be framed by that particular department. And based upon that, how we are going to achieve those POs, starting with the targeting of these course outcomes. And in this course, they're going to address that particular programs. And based upon that, we can just find out whether the POs and PSOs are attained or not. And then we can find out the gaps, means under which particular part we can just identify that the students or that particular program is not able to attain that particular PO. And with respect to that, we can just try to modify the contents of our programs as in the next scheme we can say. So that is what actually the process is there to meet the compliance of the curriculums. And when you talk about all this, how actually that process has to be exhibited. So it is just not like, as I say, now this is the already is the program curriculum is already given by the MSBT. So as such, being a institutes or being a faculty, we are not that much involved in that. But though we are not directly involved, but actually we can participate based upon whatever our understanding when you just calculate the POs after the 3 years, where actually we can find that the POs are not attained and what gaps can be gaps are there. Those gaps, how actually we can reduce. So maybe we can just address those to the MSBT or just higher authorities. We can just have some letters to them that these are some gaps, and we think that this can be minimized by introducing of some kind of courses or maybe some kind of content that can be reframed, where actually those POs can be addressed. So that way actually we can contribute. But now, uh, being a tier two, we don't have that much access. But being a tier one, actually, when you say about the autonomous institutes, they have the flexibility that they can frame their own curriculum. So they have the entire choice. And now the same process as I discussed earlier, that how the MSBT might have framed all these curriculums of the case scheme. So on the similar ground, the every institutes or this, we can say that autonomous institutes, they have to be frame their curriculums. So they have to take the feedbacks from the different stakeholders. They have to have some regular interactions with the faculties from the different institutes, some academic institutes, some research institutes, some industry persons. Based upon their suggestions and their experts' advice, the curriculums can be designed. That curriculums can be even get it approved from the board of studies, maybe from that the academic councils, and then it should be implemented based upon their, uh, we can say the how they're going to address the POs and the PSOs. So for all that, the document evidence is always required. So we say that the document evidence to indicate the process which ensures the mapping and compliance of this board curriculums with respect to POs and PSOs. Then, as I said earlier also that we are going to measure the POs. The POs can be measured with the help of the help COs, the course outcomes. So for every course, we are framing some course. For any course, we have to just when design the course, we have to again frame the course objectives and the course outcomes. Means what the students is expected to learn after the completion of the course. So those are the course outcomes, and then where you have to measure this. And for the measures now, which can say that is normally some formative and again the summative assessment. So based upon the question papers that you frames, based upon the students how they reply to that, we have to find out whether we have to set a particular target of the course, every course, and if that course is going to be attained, even that now course is we have to map with the program's outcomes, and based upon that also we can level up or set the levels about the program outcomes. And once we complete that course, the entire understanding is means we can say after completion of the one semesters, we can just calculate whether that course is addressing attend is not or no. If it is attained again, how the POs are attained, and based upon that we can just try to find out the gaps. If you find out for let's say some my course of maybe some heat transfers, if I just frame some course outcomes, I have find out the course outcomes at the end of the semesters. At the same time, initially I also mapped that course outcomes with the program outcomes, set some levels of the program outcomes. And when my course is completed, when a course is attained, maybe I will just try to find out whether the program outcomes are attained or not. And if they are not attained, then what kind of measures I will have to take in the next years. So ultimately, basically, it is what with respect to the gap that we can identify for the particular course. Means if I just minimize or reduce the gaps of that particular course, it is going to attain or even it is going to reduce the gap between the POs also. So based upon that, we have to take certain actions. So that is normally a practice. But then we'll just try to say how the entire process can be done. So normally we say that initially when you first suppose designing a particular course, we have to take the help of some model curriculums which may be available. Nowadays, we find that the AICTs always provide us some model curriculums for every program. So we can take the help of that model curriculums as well as some guidelines or maybe of the from the University of Grants Commissions, like maybe you can say for your case, it may be just for if you're going for the NBA, it may be the guidelines by the NBA, even the NEP guidelines we can follow. Or even you can just go with some renowned institutes curriculums. Based upon that, we can first initial make a draft. Then we should have some meetings with our core department faculties who are going to focus based upon the POs and the PSOs that has to be taken into considerations. At the same time, we should identify what are the local needs. Ultimately, the our students who are passing from our institutes, they are going to place in somewhat nearby region industries. So, what are their requirements? So even if we can frame based upon that some curriculums also. So, we should identify some local as well as some global and national needs while considering the curriculums. We should take help of these some industry experts, academics, even all the stakeholders. And based upon them, we can just have some brainstorming at our department levels. So we should have some department, we can say academic committee, we can say DAC like that, where actually the senior persons along with the HODs, they can contribute and they can design these entire curriculums. Once it is the draft is ready, we should actually get it approved from the board of studies. So normally this is happening in case of tier one institutes. But being a part of MSBT, maybe this is not actually we have gone through, but we should have at least some kind of process where we can say that we have just gone such kind of process. We have just initiated some discussions like that. Maybe based upon discussions, though actually we don't have the entire rights of being a board of studies of the academic courses, but actually those sessions we can just draft and maybe send to the MSBT authorities that those should be taken into considerations like that. So some we should have some documentation for that. We can prepare some reports based upon our department advisory or academic committee, and then it should be handed over to these authorities where it can be taken into considerations. Or when I say about the tier 1 institutes, it will be just like the board of studies, some academic councils who is going to give approval for that. And once it is getting approved, that can be implemented. But once, though it is implemented, we should have some always periodic reviews based upon like at the end of every semesters, the number of courses which are addressing those particular program outcomes. So based upon that, once we find out the attainments, we can just take the reviews, whether the course outcomes are attained or not. If they are not, then what can be the gap and how those can be minimized. So for that again, but that is for the course, but ultimately they are leading to the course program outcomes. And based upon that, we should take some corrective measures in the next academic sessions or maybe in the next while considering the next scheme. So that is how normally the process is there while entirely designing the curriculums, program curriculums. But now we should also have to ensure that the program curriculum should always have some basic sciences courses, again some engineering courses, engineering science courses. So this is maybe again reference to the AICT. AICT always has given some guidelines about some weightages of different courses. Means basic sciences, there has to be some particular weightage in the engineering sciences courses. Again, some professional core courses, some electives courses, maybe the some open electives also can be there. Some skill-based courses, even now, when you talk about these case schemes which consider the even NEP also, so some courses on the yoga, some meditations, and all those has to be considered. Maybe the IKS has to be considered. So some all that contribution has to be done while taken while designing all that curriculum. So that is how normally the way to follow the process, and this is how every programs or the every curriculum should try to cover such kind of different courses. So the curriculum should ensure about all this when you develop the entire curriculums. So these are what normally the program outcomes means. So what are the curriculums that were designing? They are based upon the to ultimately meet these POs. So starting with the basics and specific knowledge of that particular discipline to the lifelong learnings, where again the problem analysis has to be there. So there has to be some courses which should address about all these different POs. So when I say we are designing a particular scheme, let's say for a diploma program of some 3 years, so nearly some 6 semesters, and if I say across some 30 courses, let's say some average some 30 courses might be there. So these 30 courses, I will not say that every course is going to address all the 7 POs, but these 30 courses, at least they should make me some part of that. Some courses should always address 1 or 2 POs. So in nutshell, at the end, these 30 programs are going to address these 7 POs. That has to be theirs. But it should not be case that only one program in the entire duration is just addressing one particular PO. That should not happen. So at least some 3 to 4 or 5 to 7, maybe some courses has to be there. They can address the each and every kind of PO that has to be there. So the courses now that we'll have to design, that is where in considerations with all those POs. So we have to take in mind while developing all the curriculums of every course, how we are going to address these POs. Ultimately, we are saying that it is the OBE, the outcome-based educations, and we are going to measure that outcome-based educations with that of all those attainment of the POs. So we have to consider the POs while developing all those course contents, as well as NB also expect the PSOs, the program-specific outcomes. So that can be developed or framed by the individual department based upon their, we can say the best they might be available. That best available maybe in terms of their infrastructures with respect to the laboratories. It can be also based upon the faculties, those are contributing in a particular areas, or even that can be based upon some research that may be going into the institute. So based upon that, we can just have some PSOs, and those PSO again we'll have to consider that the courses which we are developing that should also address those particular PSO. So that also has to be kept in mind while designing all that. So let's say this is just one. I'm trying to give the examples. When I say that we have to map the courses with respect to the POs and the PSOs. So this is just, let's say, one course, like maybe some course number, some 31, 60, 60 like that, so which I think is under the case schemes, so maybe the third year or the fifth semester, like industrial hydraulics and pneumatics, where now when I design that particular course, see, this is just one kind of example I'm just giving. Whether that course in my addressing the PO1, PO2 up to the PO7, so which PO is addressed by that particular course, so that I can just have some initial understanding. If I say some 30 courses are there, so for every course, actually, I can just make a one map like this, where I can just say that my this number of courses is going to address the PO1, PO2, PO3 like that. Maybe some courses will be addressed just only PO4, PO5, or maybe PO7 only. So for every course, I have to just get map that which uh, uh, POs are going to be addressed by that particular course, and as well as the PSOs also. So that I'm just mentioning that maybe it may be like a yes or maybe a dash. So in this dash indicate, so dash indicates that course is not going to address that particular PO, like the PO3, PO4, PO5, and PO6 may not be addressed by this particular course, but PO1, PO2, and PO6 can be addressed by this particular course. So, and again to how whether that map that were done, that as I say, that particular course is now going to map that PO1, PO2 again the PO7s, but whether really it is attained or not, so that can be checked. So for that, the major part is now with respect to the course attainments, whether the course is going to attain, because I mapped that course with the POs, as well as I'm mapping that course with the POs in terms of levels. As we know, in case of NBA, there are some three levels are given, so 1, 2, and 3, based upon the up to which we can say level they are mapped with respect to one, maybe the like slightly, maybe just moderate, and maybe the high like that. So 1, 2, and 3. So if it is not mapping with respect to all the contents, I can say that maybe it is a very lightly mapped. Maybe we can say it is moderately mapped and maybe highly mapped like this. So in that case, the levels are designed maybe 1, 2, 3, or even we can take the help of the guidelines which are issued by the AICT also while framing this or mapping this. There are some with respect to this POs. Actually, for engineering, there is some guidelines are issued. We can say the exam reforms are there. So based upon the exam reforms, they try to divide the every PO in some different parts based upon the competencies and again the performance indicators. Where actually we have to get the exact idea that how my course is going to be addressed and up to what levels, whether it is going to be addressed at one level, two or three levels. And based upon that, we can just set the targets of the POs mapping. Though here I just, as I say, it may be just like the course 316363 is mapping PO1 with I say yes only, but it should be like whether it is mapped at second, one, two, or three levels. But here actually what we used to do normally, if that is course is mapped at some moderate to high level, then actually I can just say that it is mapped. If it is mapping with very less contents and maybe at very low levels, maybe just at we can say one level, we are not mentioning it, maybe just say yes is only for some two and three levels. And if there is a course is not addressed, it may be dash, as well as if there is only one, it can also be dash. So like that, actually, we just initially, while submitting the SARs, were to give the compliance that what are the courses that were designed, whether they are addressing which particular programs, outcomes, all the seven as well as the PSOs. So PSOs may be in the range of some 2 to 4. So that freedom with that institutes and the departments, they're how they're going to frame based upon this. But those should be different than the POs. It should not be just like the POs, they're reflected with the PSO. That should not happen. So that is how we can say this is can be done. But once that is attained or not, that would just get it checked. So we say that normally we follow the process like, so we just set some targets for these course outcomes. We just map those course outcomes with the program outcomes, and we just to find out these course outcomes based upon the course, means the number of students those appear in the course in formative as well as in the summative assessments, and based upon that some will set some thresholds of different levels like 1, 2, or 3, whether my 60% of the students are achieving some average marks or not, or maybe some 60% or 65% or 75%. Based upon that, I can set the levels like 1, 2, and 3. And based upon that, the number of students who are scoring more than that levels, if we can just say some target can be set and that can be attained. Once it is attained, we have to again take consideration about the directs and maybe some indirect evaluations with respect to the POs. We can find out the attainment of the POs based upon that. If it is achieved, it is well and good. We can just revise the POs for the next session, for the next, we can say, academic batch. But if it is not, then actually we can just have some thought that how we can find out the gap based upon that non-attainment. Again, how actually we can just give the remedial measures for that, how we are going to achieve it in the next academic sessions maybe, and whether there is a need to again some make some changes into our assessment process, or maybe we can give a thought on how we can just reframe our question papers, or how we can change our methodology of teachings based upon that actually we can minimize that gaps. So this is how that process is normally adopted. Now, once you just identifies all those gaps and all those, how we can just attain it, or maybe you can say, once the gap identification is done, how we are going to address it. So, as I said earlier, also that identified gaps is not, we can say, directly being a tier two, we don't have that much freedom. But being a tier one, we have all the access. But as a part of tier two, we can say that we can just identify the gaps and we can just send those letters to the board. These are some measures that can be required, but it may be implemented or not, maybe not implemented. But at our end, actually, we can just focus on that. What are the gaps we identified? We can just in the next academic year, we try to minimize that based upon either we can just identify the number of courses which are maybe suppose some 30 courses are there, and out of 30 courses, some 20 courses they are addressing the PO1. And PO1 at the end we can just identify that PO1 is not attained, but it may possible that out of the 20 some 16 courses might have just attained that PO attainment based upon the course, but the 4 may not attain the PO attainment. So then actually we can focus on those 4 particular courses, because they are not attend their course, that's why they are not attend their program outcomes. So for those 4 courses we can just try to identify at what level like the students are getting wrong, whether they are not able to understand that particular subjects, what is the difficulty level of that subjects, whether we'll have to just change our targets, or how best we can do it maybe in the next academic sessions by having some introductions of some expert sessions, or maybe some we can just identify some contents which may be out of the curriculum, but that going to help them to address those particular POs and COs. Even then we can change our instructional methods while delivering that particular course. We can have some different kinds of assignments. We can make some different number of practice of some numerical subjects. Like this, some different contents can be done. But when I say about the content beyond syllabus, that can be maybe like which is not at all in the curriculum, but that is going to help to attain that particular course, the content that we are developing. So based upon that, we can identify such contents. We maybe have some experts for that. We can just even arrange some expert sessions if though we don't have the experts available in our institutes. And we can map all those, again, this with respect to the POs and the PSOs. But while doing that also, we'll have to keep all this, means evidences of all these documents. Maybe for a particular course, we identified the gaps, then we note down all those gaps, and just to cover those gaps in the next academic sessions, what kind of measures or the actions are taken. Means whether I'm going to arrange some expert sessions for that, maybe with the help of that it can be addressed, whether I'm going to give some extra assignments, whether I'm to give some extra notes for that, whether I'm going to arrange some industrial visits, which may be going to indirectly help them for the better understandings. So I'll have to just chalk it out. Maybe I have to just make one page reports for that. I will have to keep a record that what I have planned and whether I have achieved or not. And that can be documented, and it can be presented to the NBA teams when they visits about all this. So all those evidences has to be there. Normally, when you just identify such gaps and maybe you just arrange some content beyond syllabus, normally they go with so at least one samples for per assessment years that may be verified by the teams. So that we'll have to keep the records of all those. Then again, we say that the availability and appropriateness of mapping with respect to all these kind course outcomes and the program outcomes. So, as I said earlier, how we are going to map with the program outcomes like at the levels of 1, 2, or 3. So that also we have to be a very appropriate. It is not just vague that I'm just mapping at the level of 3 or maybe 2, but it should be justified that why actually I just mapped at the level of 2 or 3 or maybe at the 1. And for that, as I said earlier, there are some guidelines which are issued by the AICT with the help of that exam reform policy for the engineering courses. But we can take a reference of that, and based upon that, even for this diploma courses also, diploma programs also, actually we can just take the help and we can just map all those levels, maybe 1, 2, 3, and we can justify it based upon that. So that is, I think, the very first part uh, of this criteria 2, which is about the program curriculums and the teaching learnings. And the entire program curriculums, as I say, some 40 marks weightage is there. And now the most important part of that is of the teaching learning process, which is about the 160 marks, which is you can say about the what processes that is followed uh, while teaching and learning. So that can be considered what kind of instructional methods you used, what kind of pedagogical initiative that is taken by the institutes or the department. But again, that while considering this, we have to follow certain guidelines, or maybe with respect to the term which is available with us, the number of hours which is available with us, and based upon that, how we're going to deliver our content. So that is of more importance. So the very first part is about the adherence to the academic calendars. So every institute, so maybe being a part of MSBT, already the calendar is given, and we're supposed to follow that calendars. But being autonomous institutes, it may be the case that we can frame our own calendars. What are the activities that we have planned? Maybe that the start of the session, the end of the sessions. In between that, we have planned some formative assessment, some teacher assessments, maybe some kind of activities that we have just scheduled. So all that has to be followed. So that is what the adherence to the academic calendars, as well as the planning of the year end semester examinations and whether they are executed on the same date or not. We say normally up to some 90 to 95% adherence has to be there. We don't say that every time it will be the 100% adherence may be there, but normally it should be the case that whatever that we have planned, that planned with respect to the evaluations and assessment, as well as maybe with respect to the delivery of the contents and all those, that has to be properly followed. So that is what the adherence of the academic calendar. Then we say that use of instructional methods, maybe the planning and again the delivery methods. So I think under the case scheme, the MSBT has already mentioned, means if I say my course is of maybe some 3 credits, and in a particular semesters, I normally get some 15 working hour weeks. Within that, some 45 sessions I maybe get. So how I'm going to plan that 45 sessions means every sessions. I think that MSBT has mentioned about like the teaching learning outcomes with respect to that they have given it. Means how I can teach in a particular sessions for 1 hour durations, what content I'm supposed to taught, as well as I think they also mentioned that for that course content which CU is mapped. And while framing the entire curriculums, the MSBT has also taken care about the Bloom's level. So we say that there are 6 Bloom's levels, starting with the remember to the to create. So under this now, they also try to map with this whether that content is up to the level of remembering, understandings, or maybe of the apply. We don't expect the very higher levels like the 4, 5, and 6 where the analyze, evaluate, and create. But normally, the any course can reach up to the apply level. So that way, that content can be there. So that instructional planning is entirely with respect to that. So it is already mentioned by the, I think, MSBT in their curriculums. For every course they are given, it may be of some 30 hours or maybe some 45 hours, that how the contents can be delivered. And even they also specified that, or maybe that is the freedom with us, that which method I'm going to adopt for while delivering that contents. It may be just like some chalk and chalk. It may be just like we can say some demonstrations. It can be some models I can use. It can be some PPTs also I can use. It, some videos can be used. So that I have to decide that what kind of delivery methods I'm going to use. So that is the second part when I say about this teaching learning process that has to be followed. Ultimately, this is going to lead about how we can just try to improve the quality of the teaching learning. So entirely it is about the quality. So this is how, if I just follow all this process, I think definitely we're going to get bound to get the quality. Again, the most important part of when you deliver the any content or sessions in a class, so out of the 60 students, maybe the students are not of all of the same level. They're of some different levels, but then I will have to identify that out in my class, which students, maybe you can say some weak students and maybe the bright students. And for those, I can take the help of maybe the formative assessments based upon the results that may be declared when you just conduct the formative assessments. Let's say some have, we can just have some threshold that minimum 40% has to be the passings. So I can just identify some students who are just pass, who are just maybe not passed, and who are very score up to some 80 to 90 or maybe some 70 to 90% marks like that. So based upon that, actually I can just identify in my particular course which students are weak and which will be the bright students. And then what kind of support I'm going to provide to those. If there are students who are very bright, I can just encourage them to maybe some additional learnings. I can just suggest them with some kind of different, maybe they can participate in some different activities, or they can just have some undergo some different small courses, maybe some online courses also. They can participate in some activity like the hackathons, like that. We can encourage them for that. And suppose there is some weak students are there, then I should have some remedial measures for that. Means how actually I'm going to cope up them. At least they should be in line with the entire class. So for that, I can plan some extra lectures, some remedial lectures I can plan. I can give them some extra assignments. I can have some extra sessions for all those. I can provide them different notes, and I can try to ensure that at least they should be able to clear that particular course. So that again, what kind of methodology that is adopted by that particular department, that is also going to be seen by the NBA. So that also we have to see. So when I just have about the methodologies to support the weak and they encourage the bright students. So that depends upon the institutes or maybe the departments that how we are going to do it. But whatever you do, that has to be properly documented. You should have all the documents for that. When I say I am providing support to the weak student, then I should have some, if I'm planning for some extra sessions for that, then initially I should have some document where actually I can just identify that these are the weak students and my guidelines, or maybe I can say my benchmark should be there, that how actually I identified these weak students. So that has to be documented. Then the number of students, those who are identified, the list of those students with you. Then what kind of measures we are taking for that? If I just trying to get some sessions for that, I should have some displayed notice for that. In the notice, I can mention that on that particular date, I'm going to conduct some extra sessions for that. I'm going to conduct some extra assignments, or maybe I'm just going to provide them notes. So all that has to be very properly documented. Then presence of those students about for those has to be documented. And ultimately, once this is done, whether some improvement is done or not. So that also has to be find out. So again, that has to be documented. So whether the performance is improved or not. So every documentation has to be there. So that methodologies has to be followed while doing this. Then we say that the quality of teaching, classroom teaching. So the faculty who are delivering the sessions, at least his part is that he should remind the student that the contents which you are learning today is addressing which particular CO. We don't expect that the student should know about the program outcomes very easily, that now this content is going to address that particular PO, but at least they should know that, okay, this is the content now which may be addressing the CO number 3 or maybe CO number 4 like this. So maybe you can just have a practice that you can just mention when you just deliver the contents. Now this content is addressing this particular CO. Because ultimately it is going to be interactions with the students. When they committee visits, they also interact with the students and they try to get from the students whether they are aware with the course outcomes or the program outcomes. And to make them aware, it is, I think it is a regular practice should be there that every time you can just mention the COs. So at least they will know the CO is the course outcomes. We don't expect the exact statement from the student, but they should know at least for that particular course, whether some 4 COs are there or maybe the 5 COs are there. And the quality is normally they are observed within the visit. When the committee visits, that time they observe in the sessions of a particular faculty. They will not means faculty in the sense as per the timetables which lectures might be scheduled. So they will be a part of that classroom. They will attend that class for some 15 to 20 minutes, and then they will just have some interactions with the students, and they will try to understand whether they're really getting some good quality or not. So that is the observation by the team during the visit only. Similarly, for the labs also, how you conduct the practicals, what method you adopt, whether the students are really understand it or not. So that can be observed by the teams during the visit only, during the laboratory visits. As well as when I say about the course is addressing some particular laboratory or the particular practical is there. So how you are going to evaluate those understanding of the student? So we say that continuous assessment in the laboratory. Normally we say that for a theory course, it may be just like a continuous assessment based upon the formative and the summative assessments. When you talk about the practicals or the laboratory, it should be the conductions of the practicals, means how we have planned. Again, it comes with the instructional planning that for a particular course, let's say some practicals are there. So in a semesters, how I have planned to conduct those practicals, and then uh, what kind of material I'm going to provide for those practicals. Maybe I should have some lab manual initially first with me. That lab manual again should address all these practicals as well as again the course outcome that is mapped. Even if the program outcomes also those are mapped. And then when the students perform the practicals, what are your criteria based upon which you are going to evaluate it? It may be based upon their understanding of that practicals. It may be based upon some, suppose where they're conducting in a group, how they are performed that practicals in a group. It may be just like some weightage will be given to the marks, weightage will be given based upon the attendance and all those. So those all factors has to be considered, and based upon that, we will have to do continuous assessment of the practicals. Suppose this week I conduct one practicals, and the students are expected to get it complete and maybe submit in the next week. So I have to conduct some viva based upon that, how they're going to present it. So again, the weightage can be given to that, so that criteria can be decided by the college or by the institutes or even by the department also. But normally we say that the college should follow a single criteria. It should not be the department to department should vary. So that can be done. That can has to be there. Even the regular feedback can be taken. So we say that normally some two feedbacks has to be taken in the semesters, the midterms and with the interim semester feedback. Whether the faculty that is delivering the course content is the students are able to digest or not, whether they really understand and what are their thinkings about that particular faculty or what about that contents he is going to deliver. So based upon that, some actions can be taken. Suppose the students are not able to understand a particular part of that, then what kind of actions is taken? How we're going to address those to the faculty, being maybe the head of the department with the role. Suppose we conduct the feedback of any one of the faculty for a particular course, and if that is not up to the level, then what kind of actions we are going to take? Maybe I can just suggest them some different methodologies or different some instructional methods. But again, that has to be documented properly. That this was your feedback, and now where actually within this particular criteria you lack. So what can be done for that? So that has to be documented, and we can check whether that really implemented or not. Some actions has to be taken based upon that. So that is about the teaching learning process entirely, you can say. But here now, we say that uh, all evidences has to be there. So means academic calendars has to be there. And again, you have to present that in a semesters what I have planned and whether I really executed or not. So that has to be there. And again, to implement uh, all this, we should have some pedagogical initiatives which may be taken by the suggested by the department, like some collaborative learnings, maybe ICT supported teaching learnings or interactive classrooms. So all that has to be documented while preparing this. We can use some different pedagogies like maybe some flipped classrooms, the peer teachings or the peer learnings, even some collaborative projects can be given. So that depends upon course to course. Not necessarily that a single faculty can follow all this or a single course can follow all this, but at least you should have the some kind of, we can say, a thought where out of my 30 courses, let's say some 10 to 12 courses should be using such kind of different pedagogies. Maybe out of that, one faculty or one course may be addressing only about the flipped classrooms, maybe with some collaborative projects, or one may be using some ICT facilities like some digital tools, maybe used to enhance the engagements. Even we can use some FDPs to adopt some innovative pedagogies. So it maybe depends upon some like think, uh, think and share, or maybe think, pair and share. Maybe the muddiest point like that. Some different pedagogies are there, which can be adopted by the faculty to maybe have some good interactions with the students and to have some better learnings of the students. And as I said earlier also actually, for all that, we should have always some documentation has to be there. So as I already discussed about the identifications of that weak and bright students, then how those can be impacted. So we have to keep a documentation of all those. If I'm just giving some extra courses, like maybe some valid courses, so that can be again how the students are participating in that. So that can be done. And some for bright students, if I'm just suggesting them to complete some additional courses like some MOOC courses, so again that has you should have some document for that. Uh, apart from that, it is again the classroom ambience is also observed during the visit. Maybe ambience is not in the sense that proper desk bench has to be there, but again the if you're using some digital boards or maybe the OHPs and all that has to be there. And how you engage the students. So what kind of efforts are taken by the faculty to make the students engaged in the entire 60 hours duration? So that has to be that will be observed. And then we say that the quality of laboratory experience with respect to the conduction of the practicals, then how you record those observations, and how you the students are going to analyze, how they're going to write the conclusions. So that can be done with the help of some lab manuals. You can just provide some lab manuals to them, which is giving guidelines to them that what they are expected to do within that particular practicals. But even that has to be initially taught to them. Then we say that some internal, maybe some examinations can be conducted about the labs also. We should have some records. So that records maybe neat record has to be maintained. But during the visit, what they expect that for the entire 3 years, so we should have some records with them. So we say that we maybe like CAY M1 and maybe CAY M2 like that. So for previous 2 years also we'll have to keep all the records. So or at least we should have some sample journals or the sample records we should have. Uh, Again, as I said earlier, what is the frequency of your feedback about the teaching learnings? How you're going to analyze and what kind of actions you use to take it. Then what kind of initiatives we used to take normally to improve the quality? So we say that the quality that can be improved as a part of availability, these end semester examination questions papers are set by them only, but being the part of maybe some formative assessment which were to take initiative. So for that actually as a faculty, how you set the question papers, the question papers would address there's some different levels, maybe some level up to the 3. So the questions can be framed up to that particular level. Even suppose I'm giving the assignment, then assignment should address that particular, because assignment is such that where we can make the students to achieve again some higher levels also. So we can frame the questions or we can give the questions which can address some level 4 or maybe up to 5. So because assignment is not a time bound, we can just give some 1 week or 2 week to them. So based upon which the students can learn by them, so we can then take the reference of the different books where actually we can frame the questions of some higher levels. But when I say about some time-bound activities like maybe some formative assessment, we are conducting some tests of some 10 marks or 15 marks of 1 hour durations, it is somewhat difficult to frame the questions of that higher levels, means up to some 4 or 5 levels. But our question should address all those different levels. Then we should say that there has to be some process which is going to ensure the all these questions papers are properly framed or not. So then we should have some at least a committee in the department or the which is going to see all the papers which are framed by the faculty. They can give them suggestions. They can ask them to modify as per the different we can say the worst of the Bloom's levels, because many times the question those are framed, they are just like write downs or maybe just show or maybe explain like that. But they should properly address the Bloom's level. So for that, some senior faculty group will be there who can just go through the question paper that are set by the faculty. They can give some guidelines to them. So the department should have some committee. So department can have some one order for that. Some notice can be framed where these are the faculties who are going to uh, check the question papers patterns. Of maybe the question paper pattern that is followed, the level or difficulty level of the question papers, and then they can give the suggestions. So that always also has to be documented. And again, what kind of COs are addressed? It may not be the part that only one CO is addressed during the entire assessment. A different as a course outcomes should be addressed. If I say for my course, there are some 4 or 5 course outcomes are there. Then, as a part of formative assessment, I have the freedom that maybe I'm just conducting the test based upon the unit number 1 and 2. So it may be addressing some unit, some COs. Maybe I can just have some in the formative assessment too, maybe just like based upon some again unit number 3 or 4. So which kind of COs are there addressed? Or I can give some assignments, or maybe I just have some MCQ based questions also. So all that has to be evidence has to be kept. Means as I say like that, I'll have to make a committee that can be documented. They have taken the review of the question paper, given the suggestions. Again, that can be documented. So what are their observations that can be documented, and then how that paper is changed. The question, so again, that has to be documented. So all that process has to be followed to improve the quality. So this is just like some what kind of I can say the evidences that can be supported. If I'm just giving some question or as a part of assignments, so the question should address, I can say my all these COs, the weightage is given to that. Again, the Bloom's levels that can be addressed by that. Even though some MCQ questions might be there. So based upon those MCQ questions, what kind of marks is there? We, which CO is going to be addressed and what level it is going to be addressed by the Blooms. So all such kind of we can take the measures while addressing this quality. So that is actually based upon only about the formality. Being a part of, we can say, a tier 2 institutes, we don't have the access of that framing the question papers of the end semester examination. But being a formative, we may have the chance. So where actually we can keep such kind of records. Similarly, about the experiments also, when I say about the quality of the experiments, we should have some actually methodologies to be set for the condition of the practicals. Means how we are going to conduct the practicals in a sessions, number of practicals which will be there. I can prepare the lab manuals initially to them. I can just share that lab manual to the students. What kind of other experiments, which may be some innovative experiment that may be available with you based upon the virtual labs, or maybe because of some industry supported labs that can also be a part of your, we can say, content beyond syllabus for that particular course. And again, I will have to map that. Suppose of one particular suppose one particular experiment is there, which CO is going to be addressed by that, and even some I can say that which POs can be addressed by that. So I will have to first make a list like that. I think even for the MSBT, it is also in the case scheme that is also given that practical how you supposed to conduct their practicals, and again which COs is going to be addressed. So it was somewhat easy rather when you talk about the tier 2 institutes as a part of MSBT, because under the case scheme they are already implemented based upon the OBE, and all that is already given. But for the tier 1, it will be their entirely their own part where they will have to just frame all this. As a part of tier 2, I think it's very easy. Then again, one of the major part in the teaching learning is the quality of the student projects and how they write the reports. So when I say about the project, it is starting with the very start of the semesters. Start with the notice that we maybe just a framework for the students to form the groups. We can just have some different areas under which the students can do the projects. That can be done at the department level, that if they have already some projects list, they can just exhibit that, and the consent can be taken by the students from the students that in which they want to participate, or it may be just like the areas of the faculties which may be available. Based upon that, the students can just participate. They can frame the groups, and those groups then ultimately can work together in the entire semesters. But as well as this is what we can say the projects allocations is entirely there. Now, as well as they will have to identify the groups based upon we say there are different areas. It may be just like based upon the research, maybe based upon these applied areas, or even they should address some case studies or some industry projects. But at the same time, they should also be addressing some, we can say, environmental issues, uh, some ethical aspects has to be addressed by those particular projects. Some guidelines are issued by the NBA. So the project should be addressing that particular areas to be more relevant. Uh, that is what actually types and relevance of the projects and their contribution towards the attainment of the POs and the PSOs. So every project will have to map which POs those going to be addressed. Then what is the process that we use for monitoring and evaluations. So that process has to be framed by the departments. Maybe it may be in a semester how many reviews you are going to take, one review, two review, or three reviews. What is the weightage that is given to those reviews? And under that also, we'll have to check whether I'm going to assess the individual as well as the team performance. Because in a group of four, I should means distribute the marks based upon the individual performance and again the team performance. So my there is can be rubrics can be framed while evaluation of the projects that these projects which may be done, these are some part of the understandings which may be
Not audible, sir. Ode, sir.
Yes, your voice is unmute.
You had been muted. Please unmute yourself.
okay. Now I am audible.
Yeah, right now you are audible.
Okay, from means how much time actually I was not audible to you. बरस में लगा क्या तक
नहीं
Just a minute, 1 minute.
just
Sir,
for 2 minutes only.
just okay, I think it may be just while doing that pain use करताना बहुतेक काहीतरी झालं असेल. So maybe you just try to repeat this part again. So when I talk about the teaching and learning, it is also the most important is about the quality of the student projects and writings. And as I said earlier, that the project is basically about the identification of the projects and again the methodology that is followed by the department. So starting with the notice that can be followed by the departments to form the groups, or maybe you can just have some different projects if it is available to the faculty, those can be listed out and we can take the consent of the students, or we can just have some areas of the faculties in which they are working, those can be floated and we can take the consents, or it may be just individual ultimately up to the student that they can frame the groups. It can again depends upon the department or the institutes how you frame the groups. Either the choice is entirely given to the students that they can frame a group of 3 or 4, or it may be just based upon their previous semester marks, we can frame the groups. So that there should not be any group which is very weak and there should not be any group which is very strong. Because it many times happen that the students, when they frame the groups, it may be just like a 3 or 4 students, they are very good, they can just have one group, and ultimately the students, they are very weak, nobody is going to take them in a group. So that should not also be followed. So for that, some we can say criteria should be there set by the departments, and that methodology should be followed. As again, while projects also taking care should be taken that how they are going to address the different aspects. Maybe like some projects can be addressed about the agricultural base, some maybe of the about the environmental issues, some maybe about the we can say some industrial aspects. So such kind of different categories should be there of the projects, and we should have some mapping with different POs and the PSOs. The process for monitoring and evaluations, as I was saying, it depends upon the department that how many reviews they are intended to take, 1, 2, or 3. But whatever the reviews you are taking, it should be assessed so that we can assess in a group each individual as well as a team, the performance of individual as well as a team. Based upon that, the marks should be given to the students. So for that, the rubrics has to be framed and those rubrics has to be followed. Again, we say that uh, what is the quality of those projects, whether they are maybe the working prototypes or maybe just like some software based or maybe some case studies like that. So some categories and relevance has to be there. And if they're going to publish some papers based upon that is always good. Again, if they are getting some recognitions or awards based upon their projects at some state or national level, that has to be documented. So there only we can say we are getting some good quality of projects, and even the report should be right properly. So some guidelines should be issued by the department or the, I don't know whether the MSBT has given the guidelines for that. It may be there, and based upon that, the report should be right. So report should be very neat and clean, and that has to be presented to the team when they visit the laboratories and again the project labs and all those. But it should be always some good project should be reflected. So for that, we say that all this process has to be documented, and we have to provide those evidence when I just the team visits. And as I said earlier, the projects can be like based upon the applications, maybe product based, it may be research based, or it may be addressing some environmental aspects, some safety, cost, and all those standards has to be mapped. Here, I just try to show that how the rubrics can be there. If I say for the project evaluations, so this is just one sample that how actually we can assess this group assessments and the individual assessment. So for that, we can say when I say the group assessment, every student is going bound to get the same marks. Suppose the topic selected maybe it is of what level. So I just categorize based upon the different parameters like whether it is a poor, average, good, excellent. And for this, there are suppose five such criteria are there, like starting with this up to the scheduling and planning. And the maximum weightage is some 10, so 50 marks weightage is there. So while 50 marks now, this is the 10 marks is given to about the selection of the topics. So I can say that if for a group, this mark should be remain same. So means the every student from that group should get some 5 marks or maybe some 8 marks or maybe some 10 marks. So that will be the some same contributions. But when I say about the contributions in the literature review, it may be the individual assessment where I can maybe assess based upon that the one may get some 3 marks, the one may get some 10 marks. So based upon his contributions like that. So I will have to frame the groups means rubrics where we can do both group assessment as well as the individual assessment. Then only actually I can just differentiate between the marks of the individual students. Otherwise, every students may get the same marks, the 60, 60, 60 out of the 75 or maybe of 100 like that. So that should not happen. So for that, to get that all the qualities, we'll have to make some rubrics in that way. So this is just one sample. This depends upon how many reviews you used to take, and as well as we can just map some POs. So here, the PO1, I can say maybe I just frame with this PO11, which is not maybe the part of the diploma course, but maybe the finance and planning is maybe the PO of the engineering courses. So up to the PO11 also we can map, or even the PO12 also we can map. And those POs can be addressed in different reviews. Only a single review cannot address, may not address all the POs, but we can make such that because the project are such where actually all the POs can be addressed. So the reviews rubrics can be made where actually we can just keep the assessment criteria which is going to address all those program outcomes. One more part, the important part about the teaching learning, you can say that the involvement of the industry. So industry interactions and maybe the community services. So we expect some industry supported lab. There are some industries which are even under the CSR, they are ready to just devote some experiments or some labs to you. So we should approach to them. It is always good that we should have some industry supported lab. Yeah. So that can be done. So the involvement of the industries will be there. Again, we can call some industry experts to deliver some contents. So for a particular course, some of the contents may be addressed by the delivered by the industry. So for that, actually, I should have some industry license. The industries can be persons can be called for that. We can regularly visit some industries, or we can just have plan of the industrial tours. Industrial training, I think so in the case schemes, it may be made some 2 months internships to the students, maybe in the break of summer vacations and all that. So it has to be there. So we can depute our students. Being a part of tier 2, there may be some obligations, but being a part of tier 1, it may be the freedom with you that how you plan the internships. Uh, as a part of engineering institutes, actually, we have make mandatory the 6 months internship for all the students. So in the final year for entirely one semester, the students are used to be into the industry for the internships. And even sometimes we used to extend that for the entire 1 year. So based upon the need of the industries and based upon the students, how they perform, if the industry is requiring them to extend that up to the 1 year entirely, that can also be managed. But that can be done in case of the tier 1 institute, but may not be in the tier 2 because of some limitations of all those course completions and the credit completions. We should also have some post training or maybe some internship assessments. We should have some we can say some assessment of the students before he joined the internships, and maybe after that what kind of changes or what kind of learning he has done in there. So that can be done with the help of certain forms which we can develop, where actually we can assess that performance. And contribution to the community based upon the related activities or maybe services. Maybe you can just have some always every department is going to contribute about the CSR activities, but that should be again with in line with the industry, that can be a part of that. And when I say about the evidences of all that, we'll have to say keep all the records. Means even while, as I said earlier, also means while framing the curriculum, also we can have some feedbacks of the industry experts. So, but that can be documented. Those can be a part of our board of studies, board of or maybe the academic councils, where they can give the suggestions like that. So that can also be one part. Or if not at all, then at least in the delivery, how they help in the delivery, how they maybe just maybe coming as a guest persons for some uh, we can say some competitions and all those. Even that during that also they can contribute. So that can be done not only about the delivery of the course, but again how they are periodically the engagement can be done. We can just have some industrial tools and all those, but some industrial trainings minimum 2 weeks has to be there. I don't know exactly under the case scheme for how many weeks or how many months they are mentioned, but it has to be there. And we can assess their impact based upon the completion of the training. So this is what actually we can say the involvement of the industries can be done. Then one more part about the importance of the student, what kind of facilities we are providing to the students for the learning. So it may be case that we have some digital libraries, we may have some NPTEL sessions, we may have some virtual labs. How it can be given to the students. So we can enable some ICT delivery methods. For that, we should have some smart classrooms. Maybe we should have some video lectures of the faculties. Maybe some YouTube lectures. We can ask them to have some complete some courses about the Coursera or maybe of Udemy like that. Some webinars can be planned. Some NPTEL podcasts can be shown to them. The MOOCs can be asked them to provide, or maybe the college maybe have some facilities where actually students can sit and they can just go on to the digital resources which is available with them. We may have some collection of the different webinars where actually students can. I think so. Is the screen visible now? I think so I just lost
yes.
it. Okay.
Okay.
So that can also be done. Uh, so it may be the facilities which are available with the departments. That is also playing the roles for the teaching and learning. And then we should also initiate about the some involvement of the professional skill courses that can be introduced. So based upon the needs of the industries, we may have some 15 days or maybe some 1 week short duration course, which is going to enhance their employability skills, as well as even when I say about from the placement point of view, we should also have some personality development courses can be there. So that can also be done. So that can be done by the department. So there has to be some initiatives has to be taken by the department. So that is going to ensure that uh, the teaching learning process that we are going to adopt is really relating with the outcome based educations, and all the processes that we followed are in line with that. So those kind of initiatives has to be taken by the each departments, and for that we may take the help of some industries or some different institutes, actually where the experts from there can be in the campus and they can just deliver the entire 1 week sessions to all the students. So that can also be done. So these are what different initiatives which is required to embed some professional skills as well as some soft skills into the students. Now coming to the some different initiatives about the co-curricular and the extracurricular activities. So they are also playing the roles. We say that it is not just the delivery and the teaching and learning, but as well as the students how they participate in different activities. So the department can arrange some different seminars, workshops, and FDPs of the different experts, and where actually even we can map that particular maybe the expert sessions or the seminars or FDPs addressing which kind of COs and POs that can also be documented. So that can be done, and how the students are going to participate, and really what the students are learn. So we can take the feedback from the students. So maybe we can do that uh, initial and maybe even afterwards also. Suppose we are arranging some sessions onto the IoT. So what is their understanding before attending that sessions and what they understand after that session. So that can also be documented. So we can just take some feedbacks based upon that. Uh, we can also arrange some technical events, again the industrial visits that can be organized by the departments, and how the students are going to participate on that. As there has to be some contribution by the student. It is not that the department is organizing and there is no contribution is there from the student. So student has to participate. So it may be just make mandatory to them to take participations in all this. Ultimately, there are some POs we are going to address based upon this. When I say about the industrial visits, there may be the what kind of ethics are followed by the in the industries, what kind of environmental issues that may be addressed in the industries. Those can be under the indirect, we can say, contributions to the attainment of the POs. So where such activities can be mapped, and we can say that what is the 20% weightage we are taking based upon those understandings, or maybe we should have some program exit survey where actually all those can be addressed. Means in the 3 years, what are some different seminars, workshops, or maybe visits that were arranged. Based upon that, we can prepare the questionnaire and what up to what level the students are giving the consents, maybe up to some 1, 2, or 3 levels like that. And based upon that, we can just find out the attainment of those with respect to the indirect attainment for the POs. So that can also be done. I think this is most of the part of this teaching and learning, so which contributes nearly some 160 marks of the criteria 2. And just to summarize all this now, we can say that criteria 2 is basically going to we say about from the NVS point of view to address the OBE. So we have to align the curriculums and teaching processes with respect to the NBS and the OBE model for quality assurance. And that is already, I think, is done by the MSBT under the case scheme. We should foster the continuous improvements and innovations in the pedagogy. So that can be done by the individual departments and institutes based upon their identification of the gaps. So that can be done. We can engage the faculty, students, and industries for sustainable program excellence. Then only we can say that our students are going to means attain those particular all the POs, the 7 POs. So this is just I would like to summarize about this today's sessions about the program curriculums and the teaching and learning. I try to cover as per the guidelines of the SAR what are the sub criteria are there and what is expected under that, and wherever required what kind of means practices those may be followed by us, as I say, about the rubrics of the projects, maybe about the quality of these assignments, even the quality of the laboratory also. We should have that lab manuals where actually initially we can just frame all this, means the experiment number, the COs and the POs marks, and based upon that the weightage that can be given to each experiments, how we are going to evaluate those. So that can be rubrics as can be there. And the guidelines should be there to the students in the laboratory manual that what they are supposed to write, and the conclusion should be given at their end, means they can write their conclusions in their own language. So that can be done. So there are different initiatives that can be taken. It is not just like about entirely delivery only, but apart from delivery, what kind of practices that can be adopted where the students can learn, self-learning can be motivated. So that is also one of the main motive when you talk about the OB. It is not just like the faculty is delivering and the students are reflecting, but even we can encourage them to have further self-learning. Because when you talk about the PO7, the lifelong learning, that can be done only with respect to the self-learning. Unless the students are in that particular phase where they can try to learn themselves, they will not learn into lifelong or any kind of different subjects. So this is all from my side about this today's sessions. Thank you for all attending this.
Thank you, sir. I request to
Shall I
all
stop sharing
participants.
now?
Hello, sir.
Sir.
Okay. I am audible.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yes. If I request to all participants, if you have any questions or query, please you can ask to sir. Hello. So, sir, one thing from my side,
Yes, sir.
the session was very excellent. I have one or two three questions regarding this chapter two, yeah, criteria two, learning process. Here NSBT provided our some formats regarding continuous assessment, regarding formats of projects, assessment, or some practical assessment, progressive assessment. We can continue those all formats for LD also.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
As I say already earlier, also the MFPT has given a very nice curriculum. They have given the guidelines for each and every course also. And I think it is better we can just follow the same for the NBA. But if you are suppose anyone is the tier 1 institute, they can train their.
Okay. But we are first time going for MBA. Second thing, I have some query regarding that NSBT given PU and CO mapping or all subjects. Can we changes some on that because suggestion they will say that these are the suggested CO PO mapping. Can
Yes, sir.
we,
I think in the case scheme for every course, they have mentioned that the COs and PO mapping. But they are suggested. It is not that the same can be followed. You can do at your own means, but you have to justify that if you are just mentioning that this CO number 3 is mapped with the PO3 up to the level of 2, so that can be justified from your side. So when you are just changing all this at the same, even though it may be suggested by the MSBT, but the NBA visit that the experts may ask you that why that level is 2. So some justification has to be with you. It is not we can say that okay the MSBT has given, so that's why we mentioned the 2. So that is not the understanding. So they will try to understand whether the faculties understand with respect to that or not. So for that, I think it is better if we just even make changes in that. If you want to follow the same, then there has to be some justifications that why it is 1, 2, or 3. Because they will understand whether the faculty is really understand that COPO mapping is not.
okay, so. Again, one thing I want to ask you, that our students are from diploma. So there are some you suggested that some extra and in the evaluation criteria. Also, they mentioned that students have to go for some other courses more for NPTEL. But our students only attend the lectures, make the assignment, but they are not given any examination, complete certification. They are not complete certification. Then it is sufficient that they can complete the assignments and courses.
So if I say about the ultimately outcome is expected. So if I say that NPTEL students are enrolled and they are not given the examinations, it's of no use.
Okay.
So at least what we can do, as I said earlier, you can just identify some bright students in your class
Yes.
and at least ask them to complete it.
Okay.
Out of 60 maximum 5 are completing the NPTEL course. And
Okay.
if possible, the college may reimburse them the fees also. That can be done at your end.
Okay. 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 Sir, one thing again in project writing. some students, it is required to present a paper or publish a paper in any publications. Some papers.
Sir, as such, it is not mandatory, but there are some weightages given.
Okay.
If
Yes,
the
sir.
students are participating in some competitions, they're getting some awards or recognitions, some weightage is there. So we don't expect the all students to participate, but in a year, out of suppose, let's say some 10 groups are there, at least for one or two groups will be just attending some competitions, that too again some at institute, and then getting awards. It is always good.
Oh,
Ultimately the marks are there. If you will not do it, then you will not get marks.
okay, sir. From my side, I again request to all participants, please, if you have any query. So we can conclude here.
Okay, sir.
Okay, sir. Thank you so much, sir. Dr. Nitin, sir. And this was a good, excellent explanation regarding the criteria number 2. And you go through that in each and every point. So we, most of the things we understand, but somewhere we face the problems. We definitely we contact you regarding the same. Thank you,
Yes,
behalf
yes.
of all the participants on the MIT Polytechnic Rotegaon and all others. Thank you so much for the excellent.
Kishore Patil sir, hello.
Yes, sir.
Patil sir,
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
hello.
Yes, sir.
Please ask all the participants to open the camera and then you take the screenshot
Okay,
and
sir.
then make as a record. Ask all the participants to open the camera and take the screenshot of all the screen.
Okay, okay, sir.
That is
Actually,
required
recording
to
is
submit.
here. Recording is here. Okay, sir.
And also
Please,
ask them to
guys.
write down the feedback on the session. Okay, you are going to collect the session feedback.
Yes, sir. Yes,
Okay.
sir. I will collect all online. Sir.
You have to share the link and you have to collect the feedback.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Sure, sir. I request all the participants, please open camera. Please allow the camera here. So this is the recorded session. I will also share this recording to all of you. सर्वांना विनंती की कॅमेरा ऑन करा. वा.
There is the 17 screen I am finding. You ask for all the people, and by moving, you take capture all the things. Very few people has opened the camera. In one page only, I am finding the 1 and 2 people. It means they are not attending the session.
Now, sir, let it be just
Yes, sir.
ask them to
Yes,
just
sir.
take
If you
some
finish with
snapshot
the
of the
capturing,
Yes,
you
sir.
stop here. Okay. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, sir. Kolde sir, you can leave the meeting.
Okay, sir. Thank you. Thank you, Patil sir.
Yes, sir. Yes. The next session is on 2 p.m. Yes. Thank you.
करू का close? जब
काय इतर बॅचला 209 ला पाठवायचं. तर प्रॅक्टिकल रन करू आपण पहिले, त्याच्यानंतर मग आपलं आहे ते हा कोणती बॅच तुझी ये बाबा. हे 2 मिनिटं माईक चालू आहे म्हणते. इथं सांग काय करून दे. हा तुमची आज होऊन जाते ना 50. झालं झालं असेल तर टाइम करा पाठीमागे आणले. नंतर आम्हाला पेपर देऊन टाका. डायग्राम एक मात्र पुढे चुकला असेल तर नंबर 48 कोण आहे. बाहेर कोणी जाऊ नका. 35 42 दुसरा त्याच्यात ओव्हर सॅच्युरेशन किंवा फक्त फ्रिक्वेन्सी जर आपण चेंज केली तर त्याचे होणार. ते फक्त तुम्ही वर्किंग दिली काय करता येतं. आता बघणार सर, इथे मग मारतो. समजलं ना. मेन त्याचं रिझन काय बिहेवियर यूज करायचं नाही बरोबर. 20 22 पेपर द्या रे बाबा. पेपर देऊन जा. सेवन कोण आहे. चला 53 चलो 1 2 3 आहे इकडं. पेपर मोजा. कोणता पेपर कमी आहे सांगा मला. या लवकर. एक पेपर तिच्याकडे आहे बस. रोल नंबर आहे देखो सिरीज. absent. Break fixed induction. स्विच गेअरचे बघितले पेपर. बघितले म्हणजे आज का काल. चला या योगे पेपर चेक करू आपण. चला कोणाचा करायचं पहिले? हा यस करू पहिले. चलिए बिल्डर नंबर 38. अरे परत तुम्ही मग त्याला करू दे ना. नको 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 नको. तू पाठीमागे थांब. आदित्य थांब ना. तुम्हाला पण करायला लावेल. तुम्हाला पण करायला लावेल पाठीमागे. त्याला करू दे ना. हा त्याला काहीच बोलू नका. आवर कमी असतं. EFG चार मार्काचा क्वेश्चन आहे. त्याच्यात तुम्ही एवढं कमी कसं काय घेता रे? चार मार्काचा क्वेश्चन चार लाईन आन्सर कसं काय सिंपल?
एक्सेल शीट ओढून बसतात. सध्या काय काम आहे बरं? मला सगळीकडे
त्यांनी एकच काम करतात मोठं ऍडमिशनचं तेव्हा आहे का नाही. चांगलं लक्ष देऊन बसतात त्यांनी. चांगलं आहे ना. पाय रोवून एकदा ऍडमिशन झाले
ज्याला 20च्या खाली पडतील त्यांनी 3 वेळा असाइनमेंट लिहायची. क्वेश्चन पेपर 3 बार सॉल्व करना है, जिसको 20 से कम मिलेंगे.
मला वाटलं काय करणार आहे ते पूर्ण, कारण त्याला काय हेल्थ नव्हतं.
मॅडम आणखीन आता काहीच वाटत नाही मॅडम.
मायबाप बी तसेच. मागा घ्यायला मायबाप पण तसेच. आपले प्रिन्सिपल
त्याला करूया ना.
आपले प्रिन्सिपल काय म्हणतात? हो, क्या
काय करायचं सोडायचंय का ते गाडी बाहेर असते ना. तिकडे असतील किंवा आदित्यला वरती पाठवून घेऊन ये, मागून घेशील. दोन जण जा फक्त. काय 3 जण उभं धरलं बिरलं अवघड होईल.
कोणतं नोटीससाठी वाचत बसते. काय ते म्हणजे
मेन पॉईंट झाले ना, मार्क होऊन जातं लगेच. आपण नाही देते त्यात. कशाचे मॅक्झिमम चे ते तिथे 2 मार्क कटले तुझे. सांगतो तुला. ते प्रत्येकाला क्वेश्चन मार्क आलाय. बसली ना कमी. जर तू फक्त फ्रिक्वेन्सी जर तू व्हेरी करते तर त्याच्याने काय होईल, तुझं पोर सॅच्युरेशन वगैरे पोर सॅच्युरेशन वगैरे पॉईंट मेन आहे त्याच्यात. नंबर बोलू. हा चेक करू. मी तर उद्या उठली ना आता. नंबर बोलून टाकतो. झालं काय इथे दुसरे अजून बाहेरचे बघ. ऍप्लिकेशन लिहायचे होते. ऍप्लिकेशन ऍडव्हान्टेज नहीं करने का था. बरोबर ना. का बरं नव्हती तशी, ते आन्सर नाही लिहिलं ना. अरे कन्स्ट्रक्शन लिहिलं राजा तुझ्या. मेंटेनन्स ऑफ इंडक्शन मोटर इज. मेंटेनन्स कसं आहे, हाय आहे का लो आहे? मेंटेनन्स कसं आहे इंडक्शन मोटर का, हाय आहे का लो आहे? मग इथं हाय कसं काय आणला? देतोय 4 मार्क आहे तुला, पण हे आन्सर बरोबर नाही. तो ते चुकलं नाही. डायरेक्ट टॉर्क एवढं वरती नसते ना. मग अभ्यासच केला नाही काही. डेल्टा मध्ये न्यूट्रल लावायचं का? काय दिलं तुलाच माहिती. अभ्यास केला होता, इकडे तिकडे फिरत होते. चार आठ 16 काहीच मार्क नाही आले. नंबर बोलो. एवढंच आन्सर होत ना. एवढा हे जास्त झालं नाही.
मी काय सांगेल मग वाटलं तरी ChatGPT वाटतं मग कोणी मी त्याचं असं करून
टाइप ऑफ स्टार्टर्स काय काय? टाइप ऑफ स्टार्टर्स कोणते कोणते? कोणते कोणते स्टार्टर आहे? आपण 2-3 लेक्चरला होती मी. कोणते कोणते अजून तिकडे वाचू नको ना. मग ते तू लिहिलं असतं तुला 2 मार्क भेटले असते. दिलं त्याला मार्क मी तुला. मला वाटलं तो नाही लिहिलं त्याला. डी एफ एक मार्क गेला तिकडे. मग युनिटला 1 मार्क. इनकम्प्लीट एस्टिमेशन नाही ना. ऑप्शन सोडवलाय ना. हा डायग्राम पण नाही काढले तू. एक क्वेश्चन कमी दिलं ना.
नाही
1 2 3 4
फक्त काय राहिलं असं काय होतं.
तिला पण सेम मध्ये असे दिले. ओके दिले.
एक
तिचं बघून येत
दोन
फक्त.
कमी आहेत.
सगळ्यांचे 2
आम्हाला
हे बघ, एक मिनिट थांब. कॉलेजला ऍडमिशन घ्यायचे बघ. सगळ्यांचे ई क्वेश्चन देतात पण असेल ना ए बँकचं पण ते दिलं असेल. बाकी ऑलमोस्ट सगळ्यांना 2 मार्क देतो. सगळ्यांना तुमचं नाही. इव्हन तुमच्या क्लासचं पण ज्यांनी लिहिलंय त्यांना फक्त मार्क्स दिले. त्यांचं नाही बघ 2-2
मला वाटलं की असंच ट्रायच करायचं तेवढं सांगितलं.
तिचं एकदा चेक कर वाटलं सर. बस
नाही
मी हे वाढू शकत नाही. तिला
किती कोणाची सक्ती
त्याला एक्स्ट्रा क्वेश्चन सॉल्व्ह हा. काय भेटलं कटर आणि काहीतरी
काय करायचंय दाखवायचं. यश असणार काय अडचण आहे सर.
15 जाते का?
नाही
मग
पॉवरफुल माणूस आहे.
ठीक आहे. चलो आगे. आदित्य रोल नंबर काय तुझा? 29 28 आहे ना. 28 आहे ना. हा 28 काय अरे मला चेक करायचीच आहे तर आता तुम्ही आहे समोर नका चेक करणे चांगलं नाही वाटत होत चांगलं नाही वाटत मार्क भेटायचे मीटिंग मीटिंग FDP ती फॅकल्टी डेव्हलपमेंट प्रोग्राम ते पण काय शुअर आहे कॉलेजला कसं गुरु करायचं आपल्याला नाही कॉलेजला कसं गुरु करायचं आमचं गावाला होतं तू जाईल गणेश सांगा पाहिजे ना ABCDEF ABCDEF कसं काय रे स्टार्टिंग कंडिशन आहे स्लिप वन होणार ना नाही डाऊट होता ना डाऊट एक्स तुझ्या ह्याच्यात पडला तो करेक्ट व्हेरिएबल लॉसेस पण दिलेलंच नाही तुझ्यात फंक्शन लॉसेस त्याची डायग्राम पण ड्रॉ नाही केली तर कशाची डायग्राम पण पॉवर फ्लो डायग्राम पॉवर फ्लो डायग्राम किती मोठं होईल मोठा नाही क्लासिफिकेशन हे बघ एक्सप्लेन केलंय बघ रगड ऑपरेशन सगळं इलॅबरेट करायला लावलं आता असाइनमेंट तुम्ही शॉर्टकट मारून लिहिली तर मला माहिती ना तिने तुझीच असाइनमेंटची बात नाही सगळ्यांनी इव्हन ए बॅचच्या पोरांनी पण तसंच लिहिलेलं आहे असं आहे त्याच्यामुळे 2 मार्क कट केले अरे हे ना त्यांनी एवढं याच्यात संपवलं एवढं जर त्याच्यात रगड ऑपरेशन हाय हे असं हा नाही सांगतोय काय अडचण नाही पहिले नो लोडला करायचं आपल्याला ना 2 मिनिट यायचं होते मग तुझं चेक करेल मग करेल ऑप्शन आहे का ऑप्शन असेल तर ठीक नाही तरी कमी करणार आहे मी फोर सॅच्युरेशनचा पॉईंट बाकी आहे तुला हे तर याची वर्किंग ठीक आहे जेव्हा आपण फक्त फ्रिक्वेन्सी व्हेरी करू त्या कंडिशनला काय होईल आपलं जे मोटर आणि स्टेटरचा जो एअर गॅप आहे ऐका 1 मिनिट ऐका PYF मध्ये भरपूर चुका झाले गलती बहुत हुई